Listen carefully, because trust can either build your life or break it. The wrong trust drains your energy, destroys your confidence, and steals your future. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. When you learn who to trust and who to walk away from, you reclaim your power. Today, you're going to open your eyes, strengthen your boundaries, and protect your destiny. Words are powerful, but only when they are backed by action. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing promises instead of patterns. There are those who speak with confidence, vision, and charm, painting a picture of success, loyalty, and commitment. At first, it feels inspiring, it feels like potential. But over time, something feels off. The energy is high, the talk is bold, yet the results never arrive. This is where awareness becomes strength. Real character is revealed not in what someone says, but in what they repeatedly do when no one is watching. Talk without action creates false hope, and false hope is exhausting. When someone constantly explains why things will happen soon, but never takes consistent steps forward, they are not building a future, they're delaying responsibility. Excuses replace execution. Stories replace progress, and slowly, trust erodes. Life doesn't reward intention. It rewards commitment followed by action. If effort is missing, the words lose all value no matter how convincing they sound. Consistency is the real language of trust. Anyone can talk big when emotions are high or when there is something to gain, but discipline shows up quietly, day after day, especially when motivation fades. Watch how someone handles small promises, small responsibilities, and small challenges. These moments reveal far more than grand speeches ever could. When actions don't align with words, it creates confusion, and confusion drains your confidence and clarity. Trusting talk without evidence can pull you into cycles of waiting, hoping, and justifying behavior that never changes. Growth requires alignment. What is said must match what is done. When there is alignment, you feel safe, stable, and empowered. When there is not, you feel anxious, uncertain, and depleted. That feeling is not weakness. It is intuition asking you to pay attention. The moment you choose to trust actions over words, your standards rise. You stop settling for potential and start expecting progress. You become grounded, decisive, and focused. And when you honor that standard, you protect your energy, your time, and your future. Because in the end, the loudest proof of integrity is not a promise, it is consistent action. Trust is truly tested when life applies pressure. Anyone can be present when things are light, easy, and comfortable. But the moment responsibility enters the picture, character is revealed. Some people thrive on connection only when it requires nothing from them. They enjoy attention, support, and companionship, yet disappear the instant effort. Accountability or emotional maturity is required. This pattern is not accidental, it is avoidance, and avoidance is the enemy of trust. Responsibility shows up in many forms. Difficult conversations, honest commitments, standing by words, admitting mistakes, and showing up consistently even when it feels uncomfortable. When these moments arise, those who lack inner strength often retreat. Silence replaces communication. Distance replaces presence. Excuses replace ownership. What once felt warm and engaging suddenly becomes uncertain and unstable. This is not bad timing or confusion. It is a clear signal of unreliability. Trust cannot grow where responsibility is feared. Avoidance creates emotional chaos because it leaves questions unanswered and expectations unmet. Over time, this behavior forces others to carry the weight alone, making excuses, filling gaps, and lowering standards just to keep things functioning. That imbalance leads to frustration, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. Strong connections require two people willing to face discomfort, not one doing all the emotional labor. Accountability is not about perfection. It's about presence. Everyone makes mistakes, but growth comes from owning them. When responsibility is avoided, growth stops. The future becomes uncertain because there is no foundation of reliability. Stability is built by showing up when it's hard, not disappearing when things get serious. The ability to stay engaged during challenging moments is what separates maturity from immaturity. When you recognize this pattern, the most empowering response is clarity. Stop chasing consistency from someone who avoids it. Stop expecting depth from someone who fears responsibility. Choosing distance is not punishment, it is self-respect. You are not asking for too much, you are asking the wrong person. The moment you stop tolerating avoidance, your life changes. You attract reliability, emotional strength, and mutual respect. Responsibility is the gateway to trust, and only those willing to walk through it deserve a place in your future. Loyalty is one of the most powerful forces in any connection, but when it flows in only one direction, it becomes a silent form of self-sacrifice. There are people who gladly accept time, energy, emotional support, and belief, yet never offer the same in return. They grow stronger while you grow tired. At first, It feels generous to give without keeping score, but over time, imbalance creates resentment and emptiness. Trust cannot survive where effort is not mutual. One-sided loyalty often hides behind charm or vulnerability. There is always a reason why support can't be returned right now, why presence is inconsistent, or why appreciation is rarely shown. Slowly, giving becomes expected and receiving becomes rare. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where your value is measured by how much you provide rather than who you are. When loyalty is taken for granted, it loses its meaning and turns into obligation. Healthy trust is built on reciprocity, not sacrifice. Mutual support doesn't mean equal effort every single day, but it does mean equal commitment over time. When one person consistently benefits while the other constantly adjusts, the balance is broken. And without balance, respect fades. You cannot build a strong future by carrying all the weight alone. Strength grows when support flows both ways. Remaining loyal in an unbalanced situation slowly disconnects you from yourself. You start ignoring your needs, lowering expectations, and justifying behavior that doesn't align with your values. This isn't compassion, it's self-betrayal. Loyalty should never cost you your peace, your confidence, or your self-worth. When it does, it's time to reassess what trust truly means. The most powerful shift happens when you choose self-respect over giving. You don't need to argue, explain, or demand. Distance speaks clearly. When you stop pouring energy into places where it isn't valued, you create space for connections that honor you. True trust is not about how much you give, it's about how much is returned with sincerity, consistency, and respect.